Part 10. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 92. A second-level sorcerer is equivalent to a warrior on Earth in terms of level. They never thought that Xuanhuan, who was only a mid-level warrior not long ago, would become a second-level sorcerer in just 7 days after breaking through to the late stage of the warrior realm. Even in the current Greenwater Bay town, how many second-level practitioners can there be? Compared with this, Xuanlin said that it would not take long for him to compete with Zhou Yuanhua. Even in 3 or 4 months, he would be able to compete with Han Bai, which completely stunned him. Zhou Yuanhua is the lord of Greenwater Bay town, and Han Bai is the lord of Red Sand town. In their eyes, these two people were like heaven-like figures, out of reach. And now, Zhou Yuanhua and Han Bai, in Xuanlin's mouth, seem to have become two small hurdles that can be stepped over as long as they lift their feet slightly. Thinking of this, they all turned their heads and set their eyes on Chen Ronghuo. Xuanlin was able to make such great progress in a short period of time, all because of Chen Ronghuo. This made them look at Chen Ronghuo with extremely fiery eyes. Chen Ronghuo noticed the expressions of Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui, and after a moment of hesitation, he said, "You don't have to be envious. You two have also made contributions to guarding Xuanlin these days. After returning, I will try to help you improve your martial arts qualifications." Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui's martial arts qualifications are both 2 points, and both have the hope of being promoted to Earth Warriors. If he improves their martial arts qualifications to 3 points, then they may even become Sky Warriors in the future. At the same time, their training speed can be much faster. In addition, he said this because his strength is improving faster and faster now. The two are his guards. If they can't keep up with his pace, will he have to protect them in the future? Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui were stunned when they heard this. They didn't expect that they could get such a reward just by guarding here for 7 days. Improving martial arts qualifications, in the eyes of the two, is definitely the biggest reward for them. Even in astonishment, they forgot to thank Chen Ronghuo. After a brief mention, Chen Ronghuo ignored the two. He turned his head and set his eyes on Xuanlin again, and continued to ask, "Xuanlin, do you know how long it will take you to hide the snake scales on your body?" Sir Xuanlin immediately replied, "It will take at most 1 month to hide the snake scales on my body. At the same time, after 1 month, I will probably be able to adapt to the surging power, and cultivate 1 or 2 powerful secret techniques to gain the strength to compete with Zhou Yuanhua." 1 month. Chen Ronghuo pondered for a moment. After a moment, he said, "That's good. I have a task for you now. See if you can complete it within 1 month." As he spoke, he raised his hand, took out a piece of white cloth, and unfolded it. This piece of white cloth was rolled up before and was held in Chen Ronghuo's hand. Although Xuanlin and others noticed it, they didn't know what it was for. Now as Chen Ronghuo unfolded the white cloth, they suddenly found that there was a map on the white cloth. Looking closely, this map seemed familiar. At this time, Chen Rong held the map with his left hand, pointed at it with his right hand, and then said to Xuanlin, "This map is the map of the mountain we went to last time. There are some things I need in that mountain. Next, you go there, adapt to your own strength, and help me collect the things marked on it." Xuanlin looked along Chen Ronghuo's finger. He immediately saw that there was a red dot wherever Chen Ronghuo pointed on the map. And next to the red dot, there was a tiny text mark. After obtaining the inheritance, he had already known the common characters of this world like Chen Ronghuo. Therefore, he saw at a glance that those red dots were the locations of some flame spirits. With a thought, he immediately said, "Don't worry, sir, I will complete this task within a month and help you collect all these flame spirits. In that case, I will wait for you to return." Chen Ronghuo smiled with relief. This map is the location of the flame spirits hidden in the mountains dozens of miles away, which he deduced from ancient books by consuming his soul power every day. There are as many as 30 or 40 such places. Although he is not particularly sure, he estimates that as long as Xuanhuan picks these flame spirits using the picking method he marked, preserves them in a special way, and brings them back to him, he will most likely be able to revive the dormant natural disaster flames. Thinking of this, he handed the map in his hand to Xuanhuan, and patted Xuanhuan on the shoulder and said, "In addition, I also hope that when you return, it will be the time for me to become a noble lord." After so many days, the noble reward scroll sealed with high-level ghost energy has been touched by him many times, and he has touched it many times, and he has touched it. As the ghost energy on the scroll becomes thinner and thinner, the time he can touch the scroll every day has increased from 3 minutes to 4 minutes. He believes that as more ghost energy attributes are touched by him, the time he can touch the scroll every day will increase again. In this way, he should be not far away from completely unsealing the scroll. "I am willing to serve you." As soon as Chen Ronghuo said this, Xuanhuan immediately felt a strong sense of trust. Without any hesitation, he knelt down on one knee in front of Chen Ronghuo again. After accepting the inheritance of the Mongadu Black Emperor Snake, his personality was also affected a lot and became a little cold. This is also the reason why the dead silence in his eyes was so strong when he looked at Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui before. But at this moment, his heart was surging. At the same time, Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui, who were standing aside, also became hot-hearted when they heard what Chen Ronghuo said. As long as Chen Ronghuo did not become a lord, they would always feel that they could not raise their heads. So they had been looking forward to this day for a long time. "In that case, then you should go and come back quickly." Chen Ronghuo smiled slightly. "Huang Xiaoshan, and your wife, I will take care of you." "Yes." Xuanhuan agreed in a low voice. Immediately, he grabbed the map handed to him by Chen Ronghuo, said goodbye to Chen Ronghuo, and walked straight away. He was not suitable to go back to the village in his current state, so naturally he did not need too much preparation. "Let's go, it's time for us to go back." After Xuanhuan's back disappeared, Chen Ronghuo shook his head and walked towards the village. Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui hurriedly followed him, one on the left and one on the right, slightly behind him. Just when the three of them were still hundreds of meters away from Chen Ronghuo's courtyard, they suddenly smelled a refreshing fragrance of flowers coming from a distance. "What's going on? Why did this tree suddenly bloom? What kind of flower is this? It's so beautiful and fragrant." At the same time, there were bursts of noisy sounds coming from the direction of Chen Ronghuo's courtyard. Thanks to 0 for the reward. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 93. It smells so good, sir. Have you been planting flowers at home these days? Zhu Deipen sniffed and sniffed. This strange floral fragrance made even him, who had no feeling for flowers, feel like he wanted to be immersed in it forever after smelling it. What a coincidence, that tree bloomed at this time. Chen Ronghuo thought slightly and did not answer Zhu Deipen. If nothing unexpected happens, the one that can spread this kind of floral fragrance must be the mutated colorful spiritual tree. Thinking of this, he immediately quickened his pace and walked towards his small courtyard. This time, Xuanhuan's strength has improved tremendously. Finally, Chen Ronghuo has a trump card to gain a foothold in this world, or this region. But in comparison, he hopes that his strength will be improved. The changes in the colorful spirit wood are related to whether he can quickly obtain the second-level combat power, so naturally he cannot let him be careless. Quickening his pace, he, Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui returned to his small courtyard in a short while. After coming back, he looked up and immediately saw that when he just left, there was no colorful spiritual tree with any flowers. Now it was actually full of colorful flowers hanging on the tree. The colorful flower buds sway in the wind, exuding a refreshing floral fragrance. It was so beautiful that he couldn't help but be a little intoxicated. At the same time, in front of their small courtyard, the villagers were also attracted one by one. Does any of you know what kind of tree this is? How come it has so many flowers blooming all at once, and they are all colorful? The fragrance of this flower is so pleasant. Could it be some kind of spiritual tree? A group of villagers gathered around the colorful spiritual tree, which was already more than 2 meters high, and discussed it incessantly. In the past few days, they all noticed this strangely growing spiritual tree. It's just that this thing belongs to Chen Ronghuo, so they naturally won't ask too much. But now, as the colorful spiritual trees blossomed and emitted the alluring fragrance, they could no longer hold back and were all attracted. Everyone, give in, the young master is back. At this moment, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui saw this group of people blocking Chen Ronghuo's courtyard, and immediately stepped forward to separate a path among the crowd. Chen Ronghuo walked into the small courtyard from the road separated by the two people. After the colorful spiritual tree bloomed, even if many villagers came, the wood spirit demon butterfly was still hovering above the colorful spiritual tree and refused to leave. He joked, as everyone says, this tree is indeed a spiritual tree. This tree can gather spiritual energy, and practicing under this tree can speed up your practice. In the future, everyone will have the opportunity to practice under this tree, but for now, please don't be so excited. This tree is here and will not run away. That's not necessarily the case. As soon as Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, a member of the hunting team immediately shouted, with your methods, Master, this tree has really grown legs and is running around in the village. We won't be surprised. That's right, such a dead branch has grown so tall in just a few days, and has bloomed with flowers all over the tree. Now Mr. Chen, I feel like it's not impossible for you to do something unbelievable no matter how unbelievable it is. These days, most of the villagers have become familiar with Chen Ronghuo. Although they respect him, they are not too afraid of him. Everyone knows that Chen Ronghuo usually has a good temper. At this time, seeing these people gathered in front of the yard making noisy and refusing to leave, Zhu Daipen shouted, I said you guys, are you okay at home? It's just a tree in bloom, and you all came running here in such a fuss. Don't you know that this will disturb the young master? Just when he said this, he raised his head and glanced at this small tree full of colorful flowers. His heart was far more incredible than the others. After all, others have watched this small tree grow at a speed visible to the naked eye in the past 2 days. And he had no idea how a dead branch could grow into a small tree and bloom into such beautiful flowers in such a short period of time. After being yelled at by Zhu Daipen, the villagers thought that Chen Ronghuo might be dissatisfied if they and others gathered together like this. So they were reluctant to leave, and turned around and dispersed. Meow. After everyone dispersed, Chen Ronghuo discovered that Fat Mao had run under the colorful spirit tree at some point. This chubby guy rolled lazily under the tree when Chen Ronghuo looked at it. The spiritual energy gathered by the colorful spiritual trees made it feel extremely comfortable. Then it looked up at the wood spirit demon butterfly that was lingering on the colorful flowers after the villagers left, gathering nectar, and meowed twice. It seems to be praising the wood spirit demon butterfly for having some discernment and being able to find treasures from a pile of rotten wood. When the fat cat's cry sounded, the wood spirit demon butterfly immediately flapped its wings and flew high. It wasn't until the fat cat saw that there was no follow-up action that it fell back onto the branch. Seeing this scene, Shamao rolled his eyes. He was wondering if the wood spirit demon butterfly was mentally retarded. If it really wanted to take action against the wood spirit demon butterfly, it wouldn't call twice first. Just like the wood spirit monster butterfly, it can kill dozens of them each. However, the wood spirit demon butterfly did not know what Fat Cat was thinking. It had a simple mind, vibrating its blue-white wings, flying on the branches, picking nectar, and seemed extremely happy. As it collected nectar and brewed it into colorful honey. Its originally bluish-white body gradually became more colorful. Mutating Wood Spirit Demon Butterfly. A Wood Spirit Demon Butterfly that is less than 1 month old is a first-level initial demon. Because it brewed colorful honey with the flowers of the colorful tree, it is also mutating into a colorful butterfly. The colorful butterfly is a demon with extremely powerful auxiliary ability, and its mature body can reach the 4th level. After identifying its attributes, Chen Ronghuo's eyes lit up immediately. Now we just have to wait for the transformation of the Wood Spirit Demon Butterfly to be completed, and then we can let Fat Cat take the colorful honey it brews. At that time, as long as it uses its innate secret technique to assist, Fat Cat's cultivation should be greatly improved. Just thinking about it, he shook his head again. Now he still has a big difficulty to face, that is, how to let the Wood Spirit Demon Butterfly help Fat Cat. He thought about this for a long time, but he didn't think of any good way. Using the demon contract to contract the Wood Spirit Demon Butterfly as his second demon is a solution. With his current strength, he should be able to force a contract with a Wood Spirit Demon Butterfly of the first stage. But the Wood Spirit Demon Butterfly is not a combat demon, which makes him a little entangled. Today's 3 chapters are completed. There will be a free chapter at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then it will be available at noon. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 94. After thinking for a while, Chen Ronghuo put aside these thoughts for the time being, and turned to Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui and said, "Come with me into the house, I will help you improve your martial arts qualifications first." At this time, it should be some time before the Wood Spirit Demon Butterfly completely transforms. During this period, he just helped the two to improve their martial arts qualifications. "Thank you, sir." Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui were immediately excited. They are all warriors, and naturally know how important the improvement of martial arts qualifications is to themselves. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and didn't say much. In fact, if he wanted to help the two improve their martial arts qualifications, he only needed to pat it. But if it was like this, it would be too simple. It would be easy for the two to think that it was actually very easy for him to improve their martial arts qualifications. After entering the house, Chen Ronghuo asked the two to take off their shirts, sit cross-legged, and then stand behind them, putting one hand on their backs respectively. Both of them were more than 2 meters tall, but Zhu Deipen was burly and had a yellow complexion. Li Haishui was thin, with dark muscles all over his body, forming a sharp contrast. At this time, after Chen Ronghuo put his hands on the backs of the two people, he suddenly felt that this was a bit awkward. But it was already done, so it was not good to stop at this time. So he did not move, closed his eyes and practiced the Dark Star meditation technique. In front of him, Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui waited for a long time and found that Chen Ronghuo did not make any follow-up moves, and they looked at each other. But Chen Ronghuo did not move, and they did not dare to move, so they could only sit there awkwardly. Time passed by minute by minute. "Young master, your tree has grown legs and run away, your tree has become a spirit." Suddenly, about an hour later, a shout suddenly came from outside. Chen Ronghuo woke up from his practice. Immediately, he had an idea, and quietly took out the martial arts qualifications that had been integrated into his body before, and integrated them into Zhu Deipen's body. Then he took out 1 point of martial arts talent from Li Zhen's body and integrated it into Li Haishui's body. Now he knows that the so-called martial arts talent is actually a special attribute. The higher the martial arts talent, the faster the training speed. The reason is that the higher the martial arts talent, the more nutrients obtained from food and spiritual medicine will be retained in the body. On the contrary, People without martial arts talent cannot store too much nutrition in their bodies after eating food. After helping the two improve their martial arts talent, Chen Ronghuo said, "Okay, you two will sit here for another 5 hours. Remember to stay still during this process. I'll go outside to see what's going on." As he spoke, he walked out quickly. The tree has become a spirit? What tree? A 7-color spiritual tree. Chen Ronghuo's heart was solemn. This tree is related to whether he can obtain the second-level combat power in a short period of time, so it can't tolerate any negligence. Pa pa pa. After walking out of the yard, Chen Ronghuo glanced and immediately saw the colorful spirit tree. It actually pulled out roots from the ground, like feet, and broke away from the original fence. It had already walked more than 10 meters away. Damn, this thing actually grew legs. Young master, come and see what happened to this thing. The villagers who were attracted by the movement of the colorful spirit tree in the distance did not dare to approach when they saw this scene. Chen Ronghuo did not answer. At the first sight of the colorful spirit tree, he used the identification technique of the ancient book on it. Mutated colorful spirit tree, first level initial spirit wood. The symbiotic spirit tree of the juvenile colorful spirit butterfly is controlled by the colorful spirit butterfly and has a certain attack power. After identifying the status of the colorful spirit tree, Chen Ronghuo immediately raised his eyebrows. Then he swept his eyes again. After a while, he finally found the wood spirit demon butterfly, which had almost merged with the colorful flowers. However, the wood spirit demon butterfly at this time had transformed into colorful colors all over its body, and it could no longer be called the wood spirit demon butterfly. Moreover, this guy seemed to have become smarter after the transformation. It hid among the flower buds, secretly controlling the colorful spiritual wood, trying to leave here. So much so that the fat cat meowing under the tree thought that the tree had really become a spirit, and its fur exploded, jumping left and right to block the tree, like a clinging puppy, not letting it escape. Larvae 7-colored spirit butterfly, first order initial demon, transformed from the wood spirit demon butterfly. Ability 1, Symbiosis. It has used this ability and signed a contract with the 7-colored spirit tree. From now on, it will be able to control the movement of the 7-colored spirit tree, use the 7-colored spirit tree to perform some special secrets, and attack the enemy. But once the 7-colored spirit tree dies, it will also die, and its cultivation level will always be the same as the 7-colored spirit tree. Ability 2, Honey Brewing. It can brew 7-color spiritual honey. 7-color spiritual honey can enhance the warrior's cultivation speed when taken by warriors. It can also speed up the warlock's meditation speed when taken by warlocks. The level of 7-color spiritual honey is the same as its own level. Ability 3, 7-colored spirit rain. This secret technique can eliminate the fatigue of the practitioner and quickly restore the practitioner's injuries. It also has the effect of reviving dead trees. It can be used alone or in groups. Ability 4, 7-colored favor. The 7-colored spirit butterfly consumes a large amount of spiritual energy from itself and the 7-colored spirit tree. With the 7-colored spirit honey, it can greatly increase the cultivation of the practitioner in a short period of time. But this secret technique consumes a lot of it. It can only be performed once a month, and the current number of times available is 1. This ability. After identifying the new attributes of the 7-colored spirit butterfly, Chen Ronghuo's eyes suddenly lit up. Now it seems that the various abilities of the 7-colored spirit butterfly are still very powerful. At least, if he subdues it, he will not have to worry about not having good things to reward his subordinates when he is short of money. At the same time, the last ability of the 7-colored spirit butterfly, the 7-colored grace, is obviously the ability mentioned in the ancient book that can greatly increase the strength of the fat cat. It's you. At this moment, Chen Ronghuo finally stopped hesitating. He took a step and walked towards the 7-colored spirit butterfly, who wanted to control the 7-colored spirit tree to leave here. Seeing Chen Ronghuo approaching, the 7-colored spirit butterfly suddenly panicked. It hurriedly controlled the colorful spirit wood, changed direction, avoided the obstruction of the fat cat, and wanted to continue to escape. But the fat cat was too fast. As soon as it moved, the fat cat followed and blocked it again. The colorful spirit butterfly changed direction again, and the fat cat also exploded its fur and blocked it again. After several times in a row, the colorful spirit butterfly's eyes were almost flowing with colorful mist. Seeing this scene, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. Seal, he continued to move forward, and at the same time, the power of the soul surged out and injected into the ancient book. Facing this juvenile colorful spirit butterfly, he used the sealing power of the ancient book. What he sealed was the power of the colorful spirit butterfly. The colorful spirit butterfly suddenly lost its power and fell from the tree without warning. At this time, Chen Ronghuo walked under the tree and reached out to catch it in his hand. After falling into Chen Ronghuo's hands, the colorful butterfly didn't know what was going on. It looked up, blinked its colorful eyes, and looked at the surrounding environment. Suddenly, when it saw that it was in Chen Ronghuo's hands, especially when its eyes met Chen Ronghuo's eyes, its two pairs of beautiful wings immediately wrapped its body tightly, and its whole body trembled. And lowered its head, not daring to look at Chen Ronghuo. Woo woo. At the same time, its body was trembling, and it also made a faint cry of fear. Noon burst, small broken bowls are collected for subscription, what 9 dragon magnets, falling treasure money, 7 color wonderful trees, diamond bracelets, 5 color divine light, don't come. Thanks to the book friends Xuanhuan for the reward, and the 3 book friends Moueshi, Yuran diving fish, and Nope for the 500 coins reward. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 95. Seeing the fearful colorful spirit butterfly, Chen Ronghuo shook his head helplessly. I know I have to do what I did with the fat cat, first develop a relationship with it and then sign a demon contract, but I'm afraid it won't work. After all, the colorful spirit butterfly is not as intelligent as the fat cat, and it cannot understand human language. It's too difficult and a waste of time to develop a relationship with it. Thinking about it, he had an idea, and under the guidance, he immediately drew out the demon contract that he had not used when he made the contract with Fat Cat from the depths of his soul. It turned into a tiny bloody mark, and with a hiss, it penetrated from the center of the colorful spirit butterfly's eyebrows. In an instant, the body of the colorful spirit butterfly lying in Chen Ronghuo's hands was shocked. At the same time, Chen Ronghuo felt that his consciousness was also pulled into a consciousness space by a strange force. This consciousness space is smaller and much more fragile than Fat Cat's consciousness space. At the same time, deep in the space, he could vaguely feel that a soul much weaker than his own was tremblingly searching for his arrival. Chen Ronghuo tried his best to be calm and convey his goodwill to the soul in the corner. It's just that after feeling his kindness, the soul trembled and shrank tighter, like a frightened little rabbit. Chen Ronghuo shook his head. After knowing that following the normal procedure would not work, he moved his mind and quickly approached the weak soul. At this time, he vaguely transformed into a human form in this space. In his hand, he held a strange mark that glowed red, like a lantern. This mark is the demon contract. Under the illumination of the demon contract, with a flash of his eyes, he saw the soul of the colorful spirit butterfly huddled in the corner of this consciousness space. Seeing Chen Ronghuo's arrival, the guy continued to shrink back. But there is no hiding place behind it. Long-term pain is worse than short-term pain. It will pass if you bear it. Don't worry, I will definitely treat you well in the future. Chen Ronghuo said something, and made the demon contract in his hand fly out, drawing a red line in the space, and with a hiss, it was imprinted on the soul of the colorful butterfly. After being imprinted on the soul by the demon contract, colorful spirit butterfly felt pain in her soul and immediately began to struggle violently. However, no matter how hard it struggled, the demon contract, driven by Chen Ronghuo's increased soul power output, was firmly imprinted on its soul, with no sign of breaking free. Time passes minute by minute. Finally, after about 3 or 4 minutes passed, colorful spirit butterfly finally lost consciousness and could no longer hold on. When its consciousness relaxed, Chen Ronghuo immediately seized the opportunity and used the demon mark to quickly penetrate into the depths of its soul like a sharp needle. Done. When everything was over, Chen Ronghuo was in a trance, and his consciousness returned to his own body. Then he lowered his head and looked at the colorful spirit butterfly lying quietly in his hand, with hazy mist flowing in its eyes, showing a look of confusion, and suddenly smiled. At the same time, after the demon contract was integrated into the depths of his soul, the colorful spirit butterfly also obtained some information through the contract. Therefore, at this time, it has also understood its fate. After understanding myself, I am afraid I will be completely tied to Chen Ronghuo. There's something sad about it. But he didn't dare to betray Chen Ronghuo. Because Chen Ronghuo can control the demon contract with just a thought, making it live but not die. But the good thing is that when it was thinking this way, it felt the huge soul power fed back from Chen Ronghuo after signing the contract, and its mood finally felt better. Because of the special nature of the demon contract, Chen Ronghuo has a higher cultivation level than it, so it can continuously receive feedback from Chen Ronghuo and quickly improve its cultivation level. Okay, let's get that tree back first. At this time, Chen Rong threw the colorful butterfly into the air with a hand, and said with a smile, "And if you follow me in the future, you won't have to collect honey secretly anymore. Don't worry, there will be people coveting your spiritual tree." Through the demon contract, Chen Ronghuo could feel that the colorful spirit butterfly forcibly contracted it to him, and he was very emotional. But there was nothing he could do about it. I can only wait until later and slowly develop a relationship with it. The colorful spiritual butterfly received Chen Ronghuo's order, flapped its wings, and landed on the colorful spiritual tree. Then it controlled the spirit tree, using the roots as its feet, and walked back to Chen Ronghuo's courtyard step by step, and let the spirit tree take root again. Seeing this scene, Shaomao suddenly realized. I asked how this tree suddenly became a spirit. Want to escape? It turns out it was all your fault. Meow. The next moment, Shaomao lowered his head slightly and issued a fierce threat to the colorful butterfly. Being frightened by the fat cat, the colorful spirit butterfly immediately flew up in circles, its eyes dodged, not daring to look at it. Okay, from now on you two will follow me and love each other. Don't do this again, you know. Chen Ronghuo stepped forward and picked up the fat cat, rubbed its head, and after rubbing it until it was so comfortable that it narrowed its eyes, he stretched out his hand to signal the colorful spiritual butterflies to come over. The colorful spiritual butterfly hesitated for a moment before circling down. But when it was still 1 or 2 meters away from the fat cat, it was no longer close, life or death. Chen Ronghuo shook his head helplessly and could only convey a message to the 7-colored spirit butterfly through the demon contract: you don't have to be so timid. Fat cat is always very good to his own people. It is angry with you now, but as long as you compensate it, it will definitely protect you in the future. He felt that he was fooling a child. But the intelligence of the 7-colored spirit butterfly is actually inferior to that of an ordinary child. Although he signed a contract with the 7-colored spirit butterfly, he could not control the 7-colored spirit butterfly like a puppet. If he wanted to instruct the 7-colored spirit butterfly to fight or do other things, he had to discuss it with it. The demon contract only provided him with an opportunity to communicate with the 7-colored spirit butterfly. And at the critical moment, he was not afraid of the 7-colored spirit butterfly's rebellion. When the 7-colored spirit butterfly heard this, the vibration frequency of its 2 pairs of wings slightly increased, as if thinking about something. The next moment, it seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly flapped its wings, and then from between its wings, a series of colorful lights fell on the fat cat. The fat cat, who was enjoying Chen Ronghuo's massage, was startled. He wanted to dodge, but when he thought of Chen Ronghuo behind him, he didn't dodge after all. But his expression became extremely fierce. Meow. But soon, as the colorful light fell on the fat cat, the fierce expression on the fat cat's face disappeared in the blink of an eye. Thanks to Lost Dead Soul for the 2000 coin reward, The Man in the Chaos of Red Dust for the 500 coin reward, and the book Friend Where Have You Been for the reward. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 96. This colorful light is one of the secrets of the colorful spirit butterfly, the colorful spirit rain. It can eliminate fatigue, heal injuries, and revive dead trees. After being baptized by this light, Fat Cat suddenly felt so comfortable that he couldn't find his way. Seeing this scene, Chen Ronghuo shook his head and continued to communicate with the colorful spirit butterfly with his consciousness, and said in a gentle and persuasive way, "See, this guy is like this, whoever gives him milk is his mother. Do you have a stronger ability? If you have a stronger ability, use it on this guy once. I guarantee that this guy will take care of you like a treasure in the future, and no one can hurt you in the slightest." Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, the colorful spirit butterfly hesitated for a long time this time. However, after a long time, it seemed to have finally made up its mind to prevent Fat Cat from always thinking about it in the future. Its figure flashed and landed on the colorful spirit tree not far away. The next moment, it condensed a large amount of colorful light between its wings. Even the colorful spiritual tree under it swayed along with it. The whole spiritual tree exuded dazzling colorful light. Finally, all the colorful lights, under the control of the colorful spiritual butterfly, condensed into an illusory strange talisman. As the talisman was generated, the colorful spiritual butterfly vomited again. All the colorful spiritual honey it had collected before was vomited out from its belly, turning into a colorful spiritual honey sticky line in front of the fat cat. The body of the colorful spiritual butterfly was only the size of a palm. But the colorful spiritual honey it vomited, according to Chen Ronghuo's estimation, could probably fill a bowl with half a bowl of it, and no one knew how it had hidden it before. An extremely tempting smell came from the colorful spiritual honey sticky line. After the fat cat smelled this smell, his eyes immediately lit up. Without any hesitation, he immediately stretched out his tongue and quickly licked the straight colorful spiritual honey sticky line. It seemed that in its eyes, he didn't know what politeness was. Eating is its life. Seeing the fat cat, Chen Ronghuo shook his head. He had raised cats on earth and knew that cats could not taste sweetness. But maybe the fat cat was different, or maybe the 7-color spiritual honey was special, so the fat cat could not stop licking the spiritual honey. After a while, it licked all the 7-color spiritual honey into its mouth. At this time, when it looked at the 7-color spiritual butterfly, its eyes really became much softer, as Chen Ronghuo said just now. Whoosh! Suddenly, just after the fat cat ate all the 7-color spiritual honey, the talisman that was condensed by the 7-color spiritual butterfly with a lot of power flashed and came to the fat cat, hanging above its head, emitting bursts of 7-color light, and fell on the fat cat. Meow. Being enveloped by the colorful light, the fat cat suddenly felt warm all over, as if the colorful honey he had just eaten was being quickly digested under the effect of the colorful light. Chen Ronghuo felt the fat cat's fur gradually getting hot, and he didn't know what kind of changes would happen to it. With a thought in his mind, he put it on the ground and stepped back a few steps. Meow. As soon as Chen Ronghuo put it on the ground, the fat cat cried again. The power in its body was rolling, as if it had just eaten too much, and now under the effect of the colorful light, it all burst out at once, even it seemed that it couldn't bear it. And after this cry, its body suddenly doubled, then doubled again, and then doubled again. Roar! After a short time, it became 6 or 7 times larger, as if it had turned into a little tiger. At the same time, the sound coming out of his mouth seemed to be a little different, giving people a sense of dragon roar and tiger power. Tiger-skinned fat chinchilla, demon species, late stage 1. There is a chance to become a 4th level demon at the purchase price. An ordinary orange cat accidentally entered a strange place and mutated. Status: due to eating too much colorful spiritual honey, under the secret technique of the colorful butterfly, the body's gigantic innate ability is automatically stimulated to speed up the consumption of energy in the body. After seeing that the fat cat was fine, Chen Ronghuo breathed a sigh of relief. After so much time, the fat cat has become more than a weapon in his hand, and has also become his friend. People's hearts are complicated, so in this world, Huanglin, Zhu Daipen, and others have become his subordinates. Only the fat cat can comfort him when he feels lonely. He doesn't even need the fat cat to do anything, as long as the fat cat lies in his arms and lets him touch its soft fur. Time passes. 2 minutes later, the illusory talisman hanging above the fat cat shook, and then suddenly disintegrated into a little light. It is obviously at its limit. Roar. As the talisman disintegrated, the fat cat suddenly roared, and its body doubled in size again. After this enlargement, it was already larger than an ordinary tiger. At the same time, the aura emanating from it became even stronger. Tiger-skinned fat dragon cat, 1st level peak demon. Chen Ronghuo identified the attributes of the fat cat again. When he identified the new attributes, his eyes suddenly lit up slightly. Breakthrough. After this breakthrough, the fat cat's cultivation level reached the same level as him. However, he was still a little confused. After all, what he asked the ancient book was how to obtain the 2nd level combat power in a short time without danger. Could it be that fat cat has just advanced to the peak of the 1st level, and has the combat power of an ordinary 2nd level demon? Meow. Just as Chen Ronghuo had this thought, Fat Cat suddenly made another strange cry after breaking through. As the cry sounded, Fat Cat suddenly lowered his head, and at the same time his throat moved, as if something was bulging out of his throat. After a few breaths, Fat Cat's expression returned to normal. Then it raised its head and spit out a fist-sized strange bead from its mouth. After the bead came out, it spun around and landed on top of its head. Chen Ronghuo's face changed slightly. He never thought that there would be such a bead in Fat Cat's body. When he identified Fat Cat before, he didn't identify this thing. Tiger Soul Dragon Ball, this is what a powerful evil tiger and a powerful evil dragon left after they died together. Fat Cat was originally just an ordinary orange cat. It got this bead because it accidentally entered a strange place and transformed into a tiger-skin dragon cat. This bead contains part of the power of the evil tiger and the fierce dragon, as well as their remaining inheritance. At the same time, because this bead has a special connection with Fat Cat, it can also protect its soul. Before the 4th level, every time Fat Cat advances to the peak of the current realm, he can obtain part of the power and inheritance from this bead, and then advance quickly. But the first formal acceptance of this bead inheritance may cause Fat Cat's temperament to change drastically. After identifying the properties of this bead, Chen Ronghuo's face changed slightly. At this moment, he finally knew how to quickly obtain the 2nd level combat power guided by the ancient book. I'm really sorry, time is too tight. I've finished 10 chapters, but I haven't had time to revise the remaining 8 chapters. I'll revise 1 chapter and post 1 chapter later. It will take a few minutes between each chapter, but I will speed up also. Don't worry, the words in brackets will not be charged. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 97. There is no doubt that this method is not dangerous for him. But Shamao's drastic change in temperament made him unacceptable. The fat cat whose temperament has changed drastically is still the same fat cat. But before he could do anything, the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball that was slowly rotating above Fat Mao's head suddenly shot out a beam of blood and landed on Fat Mao. Roar! After this ray of blood fell on Fat Cat's body that had transformed into an extremely huge body suddenly let out a roar like a tiger or a dragon. At the same time, the fur all over his body also turned blood red in the blink of an eye. Especially its eyes, with a hint of strange purple light in the red, giving people a strong sense of madness. At this moment, everyone in the village, especially those who were nearby, held their breath and did not dare to disturb the hugely changed fat cat. The colorful spirit butterfly, who had just cast colorful grace and consumed a huge amount of money, immediately shuddered when he saw the appearance of the fat cat and hurriedly hid behind the colorful spirit tree, with only a small head exposed. Fat cat! Chen Ronghuo frowned and shouted. Just hearing his low drink, Fat Mao's eyes just flashed red and no longer had any reaction. Tiger skin fat chinchilla. Status: accepting the inheritance of the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball. A trace of Dragon Soul and a trace of Tiger Soul remain in the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball. Under the influence of the Dragon Soul and Tiger Soul, Shamao's temperament is likely to change drastically after accepting the inheritance. Damn it! After identifying Shamao's condition, Chen Ronghuo immediately cursed and looked ugly. But suddenly, he thought of the last sentence of the ancient book. That sentence says that a fat cat is very likely to change his temperament, but it does not necessarily change his temperament. Thinking of this, Chen Ronghuo suddenly had a thought. The next moment, he moved his body and arrived at Shamao's side. At the same time, he stretched out a hand and landed on the fat cat. While stroking its hair, he said, "Fat cat, wake up quickly. I just asked people to catch a lot of fresh fish for you. Fresh fish is better than salty fish. Fish is much more delicious, you know." He thought of the methods used to wake up vegetative people in his previous life, using dead horses as live horse doctors and calling fat cats one after another. As for the method of using ancient book deductions to prevent Shamao from changing his temperament, even if he exhausted all the power of his soul and the energy accumulated by the ancient book itself in the past few days, it would be difficult to deduce it. Obviously, this is because this matter involves the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball, and the level of the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball is too high. Just like when he first used the ancient book to deduce the fastest way to obtain second-level combat power, he spent more than 50 energy points in the ancient book, and the answer he got did not mention the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball. At this moment, a huge tiger shadow and a huge dragon shadow suddenly rushed into Shamao's consciousness space. Between the ups and downs, two huge shadows repeatedly fought together. The chubby soul of the fat cat was hiding in the corner, watching the two behemoths fighting in their own world, and he suddenly showed deep shock. The Tiger Soul Dragon Ball was accidentally swallowed by it in a strange encounter a year ago. After swallowing the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball into its belly, it just slept for a while without experiencing any pain. When it woke up, its intelligence was greatly expanded and it transformed into a demon. Unexpectedly, this time after it was promoted to a first-level peak demon, this thing actually rushed out of its belly again, and two phantoms, a dragon and a tiger, rushed out of it and rushed into its sea of consciousness. It felt the powerful pressure emanating from the dragon and tiger, and Mao Dan immediately shuddered. At the same time, it can also feel that as the two phantoms of a dragon and a tiger are fighting in its sea of consciousness, especially whenever the dragon or tiger is injured, various messages and powers will be integrated into it. Its soul and consciousness are in the sea. Among these messages, there is the inheritance of the dragon and the inheritance of the tiger. For these, it doesn't know whether it is good or bad, but it has no way to refuse and can only choose to bear it silently. At the same time, with the integration of various forces, its soul gradually solidified. When the soul solidified, It also knew through various messages integrated into its soul that the reason why it was able to transform into a demon before was because of the power of the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball. But he had only obtained a trace of the power of the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball before, and had not obtained the authentic inheritance. Only now has it gained the authentic inheritance of the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball. But as time went by, when Xuanhuan received the inheritance of the two, it was also affected by the remaining Tiger Soul and Dragon Soul, and its consciousness became more and more confused. No matter what I see, I want to crush it with one claw. Am I a dragon? Am I a tiger? Even in the end, it didn't even know what it was. It felt like it had a splitting headache, but it couldn't stop more information from pouring into its soul. This is different from Xuanlin's acceptance of the inheritance of the Mongadu Black Emperor Snake. When Xuanlin accepted the inheritance, if he received too much information, it would be temporarily sealed. But the inheritance that Xuanhuan received this time was ignored and forcefully stuffed into its soul. Fortunately, the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball seems to have a special connection with it, which can protect its soul and prevent it from collapsing because it cannot bear too much information. But in this state, Fat Cat became increasingly unconscious. At last, when the two phantoms of a dragon and a tiger in its sea of consciousness were both injured after a battle, only a little body remained, and the rest of them all dissipated, turning into messages and strange energy, and merged into its soul and sea of consciousness. Its soul hiding in the corner suddenly shook, as if it heard something. Fat Cat? Who is Fat Cat? Why do I hear someone calling Fat Cat? And fresh fish, what is fresh fish? But it looks delicious. But what does delicious mean? Fat Cat, you must remember that you are Fat Cat. You are lazy, you are greedy, of course, sometimes you are also very fierce, and if you don't wake up, your master, I don't want you anymore. Outside, Chen Ronghuo called Fat Cat with words like coaxing a child. At the same time, he also tried to wake up Fat Cat through the special connection between himself and Fat Cat, through consciousness, so that it would not lose itself in this inheritance. He didn't know if this would work, but this was all he could do. Super fierce? Fat Cat? I am, a super fierce, Fat Cat. Master, doesn't want me anymore? Master. Suddenly, after integrating a lot of information and strange energy into the sea of consciousness, the soul of the Fat Cat, which had become much larger and even larger than the dragon-shaped phantom and the tiger-shaped phantom, which were now only the remains of the dragon, seemed to have thought of something. The next moment, its figure flashed and it arrived in front of the dragon and the tiger. Then it raised its claws and slashed at the dragon and the tiger. Swish! After this stroke, the dragon and the tiger completely dissipated, turning into the last information and energy, and merged into the soul and sea of consciousness of the Fat Cat. But at this moment, a strange black power suddenly emerged from the depths of the Fat Cat's soul. After this force was born, it suddenly spun and turned into a vortex, swallowing all the information that Fat Cat had just absorbed from the two phantoms of the dragon and the tiger. At the same time, Fat Cat smacked his lips, as if he was still not satisfied. Outside, Chen Ronghuo was still stroking Fat Cat's back, lying beside its ear, calling it in a low voice. Meow. Suddenly, Fat Cat cried out, and then its body shrank, and it instantly returned to its original size. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 98. Seeing the changes in Fat Cat, Chen Ronghuo's eyes suddenly showed a trace of joy. At the same time, he immediately used the ancient book identification technique on Fat Cat. Fat Cat, second stage early stage. Has an owner. This is a lucky fat orange cat that has stimulated its own potential and walked out of its own path. Ability 1, Swallowing Dragons and Hunting Tigers. it is the natural enemy of dragon-type demons and tiger-type demons. It can swallow the power of the two tribes of demons and use them for its own use. There is even a certain probability that it can obtain the innate abilities of the two tribes of demons. Ability 2, Transformation, it can become larger or smaller. Ability 3, Normal. Ability 4, Disguise, it can transform and disguise itself as the tiger and dragon monsters it devoured, but before it transforms, it can also release the power of dragon and tiger. Ability 5, Wind Control, this ability is obtained by accepting the inheritance of the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball. This time the wind control technique has now been completely integrated with it and turned into its instinct. When it uses the wind control ability, its speed will be extremely fast, and it can even fly with the wind. Temperament, lazy, greedy. It will salivate when it sees delicious food, and the most feared thing is to be abandoned by the owner. You guy. After identifying the attributes of the fat cat, Chen Ronghuo smiled, squatted down immediately, hugged the fat cat in his arms, stretched out his hand, and rubbed its head hard. The fat cat also enjoyed Chen Ronghuo's caress very much, and his eyes narrowed quickly. It just stole the time, raised a paw, and gestured to the colorful spirit butterfly hiding behind the colorful spirit tree. But the colorful butterfly that saw its action was frightened and immediately flew into the air. Fat Cat was speechless. In a moment, he no longer paid attention to the silly colorful butterfly. However, he remembered this favor. Okay, don't worry about it at this time. Chen Ronghuo turned his head and said to the villagers who heard the noise, just now, my two pets had an accident. This will definitely not happen again in the future. The villagers smiled bitterly when they heard it. All of them thought in their hearts that a sorcerer is a sorcerer. There was an accident, and the noise was so big. Especially when they looked at the fat cat, their eyes were extremely strange. Before this, only Huang Taizheng and a few others knew that the fat cat was a demon after Chen Ronghuo reminded them. Others didn't know anything. These villagers never thought that the fat cat, who ate and slept on weekdays, was actually a demon, and could also become as big as a tiger. Seeing the villagers' expressions, Chen Ronghuo explained a few more words before sending them away. After everyone left, Chen Ronghuo could not hold back his excitement. He called the colorful butterfly and let it land on his shoulder. Then he carried the fat cat and went straight to the back mountain. The fat cat actually reached the second level, and gained so many abilities at once. He naturally wanted to experiment quickly. In particular, in the description of the ancient book, the fat cat can fly in the air. When he was in Hongyu village before, he saw Han Bai perform the second level advanced secret technique Red Sand Phantom Wings to fly into the sky, and he was already envious. He has been thinking about whether he can condense the wings of fire with flames when he reaches the second level. And now, he seems to be able to fly into the sky in advance. Because the fat cat can not only fly, but also grow bigger. Although riding a cat is not elegant, he thought about it and felt relieved when the fat cat grew bigger and looked like a tiger. Meow. The fat cat lay in Chen Ronghuo's arms, extremely docile. The previous experience made it feel more deeply for Chen Ronghuo. But it didn't know that Chen Ronghuo was thinking about how to ride it at this time. After arriving at the back mountain, Chen Ronghuo looked around and saw that there was no one, so he put the fat cat on the ground and said, "Fat cat, try the ability you gained after this advancement." Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, the fat cat thought about it, raised its claws, and chopped at a large stone in the distance. As its claws chopped out, a ray of green wind blade quietly formed, like the Xiaoli flying dagger flying out from between its claws, and with a swoosh, it penetrated the void and hit the middle of the large stone. Puff! In an instant, the large stone was actually motionless, and a small hole was pierced by the wind blade chopped out by the fat cat. Then, after the wind blade shot out of the big rock, it flew far away before dissipating. Seeing this scene, Chen Ronghuo took a breath of cold air. The colorful butterfly standing on its shoulder was even more stunned after seeing this scene. It fluttered its wings, and really couldn't think of how it would hide from the fat cat with such ability in the future. After doing this, the fat cat slowly retracted its claws, and a bit of pride appeared on its face. The ability to control the wind was obtained by it from the inheritance of the Tiger Soul Dragon Ball. According to the information it received, this ability was originally the innate ability of the evil tiger. When it obtained this ability, it not only melted it into its own instinct, but also obtained several methods of using this ability through the many information it obtained. Like the move just now, condensing the power of wind into a wind blade and suddenly sending it out is definitely an excellent sneak attack technique. At the same time, I don't know whether it is its innate ability or the information it has received, but it can use these special abilities and even its newly increased power perfectly without adapting. Come on, do you have other abilities? Try again. Chen Ronghuo asked with anticipation. The fat cat paced on the ground for a few steps, thought about it, and suddenly waved its claws. The next moment, a few dozen meters in front of it, a wind tornado rose up, and then these wind tornadoes, just like the sand tornadoes that Hanbai made in Hongyu village before, collided with a bang, destroying everything in their path. Chen Ronghuo took a deep breath. Although the wind tornadoes made by the fat cat were not as powerful as those made by Hanbai, they were also a kind of large-scale attack secret technique. In other words, the current fat cat can actually be used as a second-level wind sorcerer. Anything else, using the power of wind, you should be able to fly, right? After thinking about it, he continued to persuade. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, the fat cat immediately stood up, put its two front paws behind its back, and then its body, surrounded by gusts of breeze, floated in front of Chen Ronghuo. Amazing, my fat cat is really amazing. By the way, you can fly with the wind now, what about you after you become bigger? After finishing speaking, Chen Ronghuo looked at the fat cat with a proud expression, and explained again, I mean, after becoming as big as a tiger as before, can you still fly with the wind? Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 99. Meow. After hearing what Chen Ronghuo said, the fat cat immediately transformed into a tiger in mid-air without any hesitation. After the transformation, the wind power lingering around its body also strengthened. It was able to float in front of Chen Ronghuo. Come on, try to fly 2 circles. Chen Ronghuo's eyes became more and more fiery. Whoosh. After Chen Ronghuo finished speaking, the fat cat, which had grown bigger, used the wind control technique and flew quickly to the distance. The fat cat was very fast, like an orange-yellow lightning. In Chen Ronghuo's opinion, even after it grew bigger, it was no slower than Hanbai, who used the red sand phantom wings in Angsha town. After all, although the red sand phantom wings can also make people fly, it is not a special flying technique, and it is still not as good as the wind control. Of course, this is also related to the fat cat's extremely skilled control of the wind power. After a moment, the fat cat flew a circle in the air and landed in front of Chen Ronghuo. At this time, not only Chen Ronghuo was excited, but the fat cat was also excited about the ability he had gained. It could actually fly. It actually became a flying fat cat. At this time, only the colorful spirit butterfly was desperate. Now, when facing the fat cat, it has lost even its biggest advantage. At this time, Chen Ronghuo saw the fat cat, which had grown many times larger, and stopped in front of him again with an excited expression on his face, and finally stated his purpose, by the way, if you add me, can you still fly? I'm worried that if we encounter an enemy in the future, if we can't beat it, you can also carry me to escape, right? Hearing Chen Ronghuo's words, the fat cat shook his head immediately. It's not that it doesn't want to carry Chen Ronghuo, but it consumes a terrifying amount of wind power when it flies after it grows larger. If it takes Chen Ronghuo with it, it may not be unable to fly, but it will definitely not be able to fly for too long. After all, it has just been promoted to the second level now. No. After getting the answer through consciousness, Chen Ronghuo was disappointed. But he changed his mind and said, "It doesn't matter if you can't fly. After you grow bigger, with the help of wind control, your running speed should not be slow, right?" Looking at the fat cat that has become as big as a tiger, he really can't suppress the desire to ride it. Of course, he did this just as he said before. If you really encounter an enemy that you can't beat, you must at least be able to escape. So it is actually necessary to practice the ability to escape in advance. This time the fat cat finally nodded. If it's just running, it can naturally carry Chen Ronghuo. That's good. Chen Ronghuo took a deep breath, then hugged the fat cat's neck, and rode on it without waiting for it to agree. Because the fat cat is too fat and its hair grows after it grows bigger, its body is soft. After riding on it, Chen Ronghuo felt very comfortable. Fat cat's eyes sparkled. He was not angry, but rather excited. He usually lay in Chen Ronghuo's arms. Today, Chen Ronghuo finally rode on him. This feeling was very good, so he ran away quickly. He ran very fast. With one step, he could cover a distance of 20 to 30 meters. And he was very stable when leaping. In fact, it was not much different from flying. At the same time, the wind around him was under his control, and there was not a single bit of it blowing on Chen Ronghuo. Chen Ronghuo stood up and watched the surrounding scenery retreat rapidly, feeling very proud. Now he has been in this world for less than a month. In less than a month, he already had Huang Lin and Huang Taizheng, 2 second-level practitioners, as his subordinates. Now, Fat Cat has also been trained by him into a second-level demon. He has really made rapid progress. At the same time, the most important thing is that he found through comparison that the speed displayed by Fat Cat carrying him was even faster than the speed displayed by Zhou Yuanhua when he fought with Han Bai in Angsha town that day. This means that even if he encounters Zhou Yuanhua now, even if he is not his opponent, he does not have to worry too much. In addition, after Fat Cat was promoted to the second-level demon, he could get feedback from Fat Cat again because of the demon contract, and the speed of soul power improvement was accelerated again. It is estimated that in 1 month or 2 months, he can also upgrade his soul power to the second level. For a long time. Near dusk, Chen Ronghuo, who was so relaxed for the first time since coming to this world, returned to Xiaohe village with Fat Cat in his arms. In the evening, Xiaohe village was as peaceful as ever with smoke curling up from cooking. From a distance, Chen Ronghuo saw Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui coming out of the house at some point. At this time, the two of them seemed to be repairing the land that was previously damaged by the seven-colored spirit tree. On Chen Ronghuo's shoulder, the seven-colored spirit butterfly flapped its wings and flew back as soon as it saw the seven-colored spirit tree in the distance. Previously, it had used the secret technique 7 colors grace for Fatty Cat, mobilizing a large amount of energy from the 7 colors spirit tree. At this time, the 7 colors spirit tree was in a state of weakness, and even the flower buds on the tree were curled up one by one, which made it feel very distressed. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and ignored it. He has already integrated 12 vitality attributes of yellow heart cabbage into the colorful spirit tree, and can no longer integrate more in this case. Perhaps he needs to integrate more gathering spirit attributes into the colorful spirit tree. But he has no such attribute in his hands now. Young master, you are back. Seeing Chen Ronghuo, Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui hurried to greet him. This is the first time that Chen Ronghuo has been out alone for such a long time since he came to Xiaohe village. Although they know that Chen Ronghuo's strength will not cause any problems, they are still a little worried. Yet Chen Ronghuo nodded. Then he looked at the ground that had just been repaired by the two, and his brows frowned slightly. At this time, there was not only a lot of yellow soil on the ground, but also a lot of white flesh worms with pure black lines on their bodies. These worms are the source of the insect plague in Xiahe village and even a large area nearby. The corpse of the ultimate form of the magic pattern wood rootworm, it was originally a wood rootworm, feeding on the roots of plants and trees, but it was not very harmful after being irradiated by some powerful force. It mutated into a magic pattern wood rootworm and began to eat all the roots of plants and trees it encountered. Because the radiation power of the magic pattern wood rootworm has increased recently, all the magic pattern wood rootworms have transformed into the ultimate form. This is the true face of these insects. Chen Ronghuo has already identified these insects, and has learned a simple way to deal with them through ancient books. It's just that he doesn't want to attract too much attention at the moment, so he didn't do it. The radiation power has increased. Chen Ronghuo frowned slightly. He cannot solve the insect plague now, but after he becomes a lord, this insect plague will be solved sooner or later. He also tried to use ancient books to deduce information about this radiation power, but even if the ancient books have accumulated 100 points of energy, they can't deduce any information about the radiation power. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 100. There is no information about the power of radiation that can be deduced for the time being, which is one of the reasons why Chen Ronghuo did not touch these insects. Now that his strength is not strong enough, it is natural that he can avoid causing trouble and avoid causing trouble. Thinking about this, he asked Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui, after your qualifications have been improved, have you tried the effects? We have already tried it before the young master came back this time. Before Zhu Deipen could answer, Li Haishui said excitedly, I am not far from the peak of the warrior realm. This qualification improvement should take a few months. Can cultivate to the peak of the warrior realm. He practices harder than Zhu Deipen, but at his original speed, it will take at least a few years to reach the peak of the warrior realm. Now change it to a few months, which is almost a tenfold improvement. But this is normal. After all, both of them are much older than Ho-san. Ho-san has 3 points of martial arts qualifications and has reached the peak of the warrior realm at the age of only 18, but they are only at the late stage of the warrior realm. This is the difference caused by a difference of 1 point in qualifications. Now that the qualifications of both of them have been raised to 3 points by Chen Ronghuo, their cultivation speed has naturally begun to soar. A few months. But Chen Ronghuo frowned slightly after hearing Li Haishui's words. For him, a few months was too long. After thinking for a while, he said, from today on, you two are going to get a green water bay big river crab every day. I will help you with it, and then you can eat it. Kaka. In the corner of the wall, the body of the semi-petrified river crab that was munching on soil froze slightly. During this period, it listened to Chen Ronghuo's lectures in the yard every day, and its mind became more and more alert, and it could even understand some human speech. Thank you, sir. However, when Zhu Deipen and Li Haishui heard this, they both looked surprised. After being together for such a long time, they naturally already knew what Chen Ronghuo meant when he said he would help them deal with it. They all know that the food processed by Chen Ronghuo is rich in nutrients and can almost match the elixir. Eating these things every day will make their cultivation speed impossible even if they don't want to soar. If you follow me, I will naturally not let you suffer. Chen Ronghuo smiled. Time passes day by day. In the next few days, Chen Ronghuo experimented with Shaomao's abilities several times. He compared Li Zhen in the battle in Red Sand Town and found that after the advanced stage, Fat Cat was definitely stronger than ordinary second-level evolvers, especially in terms of speed. Even if he was carrying himself, he would probably be stronger than ordinary second-level evolvers. After Zhou Yuanhua was still alive, his mind suddenly started to move slightly. It has been quite some time since he came to this world. But for such a long time, besides being protected by Zhu Daipen and Li Haishui, he went to the Misty Valley, and not long ago, he also secretly watched a battle under the protection of a group of people. The rest of the time, he stayed in Xiahe village. It's easy to lie down. But he aspires to become a lord. Even though he would establish a territory soon, it was a bit unreasonable that he didn't even know what other people's territories looked like after he came to this world. It's time to go for a walk. Thinking this, he looked in the direction of Greenwater Bay Town and murmured to himself. When Poison Shadow came to Xiahe village to investigate him, what he said to Poison Shadow through the green snake was not just to make Poison Shadow dispel his doubts about him. It is also paving the way for this time. While thinking this, early the next morning, he hugged Shamao and Huang Xiaoshan, followed by Li Haishui, and walked straight to Lushwiven town. As for Zhu Daipen, he stayed in the village. If there isn't even one peak warrior in the village, something could easily happen. Lushwiven town is upstream of the river near Xiahe village, and you have to pass through Shanghe village in the middle to reach it. At the same time, there are not only 5 villages affiliated to Lushwiven town: Shanghe village, Xiahe village, Giant Crocodile village, Hongyu village, and Qinjian village. These 5 villages were all found by Chen Ronghuo from Huangxiao mountain pass that day. In fact, these 5 villages are all villages in the lower reaches of the river in Lushwiven town. There are more villages near the upper reaches of the river, which are also affiliated villages of Lushwiven town. Among these villages, some are even more powerful than Xiahe village. Xiahe village can only be considered the most powerful among the several villages in the lower reaches of the river. In less than an hour, a group of 3 people, together with Shamao, traveled nearly 20 miles and arrived at Greenwater Bay town. Of course, because Huang Xiaoshan was too small, Li Haishui had to carry him all the way. "Sir, do we really want to go in?" Looking at Greenwater Bay from a distance, Li Haishui still couldn't help but started to persuade Chen Ronghuo. Before that, they killed 2 earth warriors from Greenwater Bay town. Once Zhou Yuanhua discovers that they are in their territory, they will really have no way to go to heaven and no way to enter the earth. Please calm down, we are here this time to bring Huang Xiaoshan to see his grandfather. Do nothing else and you'll be fine. Chen Ronghuo said calmly. Li Haishui smiled bitterly and shook his head. He didn't know what Chen Ronghuo was thinking. If he really wanted to come to Lushwiven town to take a look, he could wait until Huang Lin came back. But since Chen Ronghuo has made up his mind, as a subordinate, he can only obey. At this time, Chen Ronghuo looked at Greenwater Bay town. There was a curved green water area in front of him. And Greenwater Bay town was built on a small island in the middle of that water area. It was actually an island within an island. At a glance, the 10-meter-high city wall, covered with green plants, stood in the center of the calm green water, magnificent. Greenwater Bay town is called a town, but it looks like a small town built in a green water. At the dock on the edge of this green water, there are wooden boats and many boatmen parked. If you want to go to Greenwater Bay town, you can only take these wooden boats. Soon, Chen Ronghuo and his men came to the boatman. "Sir, we have to register first." Li Haishui whispered beside Chen Ronghuo. Chen Ronghuo nodded. Greenwater Bay town does not prohibit outsiders from entering, but everyone who wants to enter must register their identity. When Li Haishui was looking for someone to register, Chen Ronghuo looked at the green water nearby. Thinking that after the fat cat transforms, this green water should not be able to stop it. In his previous experiments, he had already experimented in the big river near Xiahe village. Even if the fat cat carried him, it could walk on the waves. At this time, Li Haishui had already arrived at the registration office. "Sir, please help us register. We are all from Xiahe village. My name is Li." He greeted the registrant and reported his identity. Landing 300 years in advance. Author, Xiaoji Depeng. Chapter 101. Li Haishui. Just when Li Haishui was halfway through what he said, a strange voice suddenly rang out from a boat heading here from Lushwiven town, and called out Li Haishui's name. Chen Ronghuo and others turned their heads and immediately saw that the person who made the voice was Zhu Qiang, the pyromancer of Greenwater Bay Town. Master Zhu. Seeing Zhu Qiang, Li Haishui was startled and immediately said respectfully, "I didn't expect you to know me. We came here this time to show Huang Xiaozhan his grandfather." At this time, Zhu Qiang had already boarded the boat and landed. After he glanced at Li Haishui, his eyes fell on Chen Ronghuo beside him, with something strange flashing in his eyes. But he followed him and laughed and said, "You are relatives of Commander Huang. If you want to see him, there is no problem." Commander Huang. Li Haishui seemed startled. During this period of time, there has been no news about Huang Taizheng since he came to Lushwiven town. Now listening to Zhu Qiang's meaning, Huang Taizheng turned out to be the leader of the guard team of Lushwiven town as Chen Ronghuo expected. Right. Zhu Qiang smiled and said, "Your Xiahe village has become more developed this time. Huang Xiaoshan's grandfather has now become the leader of our Greenwater Bay Guards, and he will definitely take better care of you in the future. It is even possible for him to get more people to join us in Greenwater Bay Town." That's right. When he said this, his eyes flashed and he said, "When I came out this time, I just walked around casually, nothing big happened. Now that I have met you, I will take you to find Commander Huang, otherwise it will be troublesome for you who are not familiar with the place." Zhu Qiang is well known as a good old man throughout Lushwiven town. In particular, he is extremely tactful. He talks about people's opinions and lies about ghosts. Many things outside Greenwater Bay Town are under his control. While saying this, he didn't wait for Chen Ronghuo and the others to refuse, and said to the people over there who were planning to register Li Haishui and the others, "You don't need to register, and remember it next time. The three of them are the new appointees of our town, the relative of Commander Huang. It's one of our own. You don't need to register if you come here again." "Yes, Lord Zhu." After hearing this, the man immediately replied respectfully, "Master Zhu, this." Li Haishui hesitated. This, you follow me, don't be so polite, let's go, I will take you to see Commander Huang." Zhu Qiang shook his head and smiled, then stretched out his hand to make a gesture of invitation. Chen Ronghuo did not refuse. At this time, he still didn't know that Zhu Qiang had probably recognized him. But before he came here this time, he knew that his identity could not be concealed, so he had no intention of concealing it. Although it was a bit surprising to meet Zhu Qiang now, it was nothing to him. On the contrary, things can be more convenient. After getting on the boatman took up the oars and rowed towards Lushwiven town. Zhu Qiang looked at Chen Ronghuo and said, "By the way, I have been to Xiahe village several times and I have never seen this brother. I don't know. My name is Chen Ronghuo, and I am Huang Xiaoshan's master." Chen Ronghuo smiled and said, "Huang Xiaoshan's master?" Zhu Qiang seemed startled when he heard this. He immediately asked in surprise, "Are you the warlock who Commander Huang said brought Huang Lin back from the brink of death?" "Yes." Chen Ronghuo nodded. Hearing Chen Ronghuo's response, Zhu Qiang immediately bowed and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you before, and I really didn't expect that you would come to our Lushwiven town. In this case, I will take you to see Commander Huang first, and then I will go to see the Lord. Our lords, after hearing about your abilities, have long wanted to meet you. It's just that things in the town are so busy that I haven't taken the time to come. This time, I believe that our lords will be extremely happy if they know that your excellency is coming." "That's no need." Chen Ronghuo quickly shook his head and said, I came here this time mainly to bring Huang Xiaoshan to meet his grandfather, and also to let him see the prosperity of Lushwiven town. I still have important things to do in Xiahe village. And won't stay here long. This. Zhu Qiang suddenly showed a regretful expression when he heard this, but he then said, Your Excellency can't stay in our Green Water Bay town longer, and that doesn't matter. It's just that I have to tell our Lord about this, otherwise he will definitely blame me if he finds out about it in the future. But please put it down, our Lord is not the kind of person who likes to force others. Chen Ronghuo shook his head and smiled bitterly, in that case, then just do whatever you want. He had to admit that Zhu Qiang was indeed a talent. At the very least, he is a talented lobbyist. In this regard, even he had to admit defeat. Just thinking about this, he showed a look of pity again. It's a pity that Zhu Qiang is not his subordinate. Don't you see that Shen Gongbeo persuaded King Zhou to persuade many good soldiers and generals? It can be said that a good lobbyist is extremely important. While talking, the group quickly arrived at the small island in the middle of the Green Water, passed through the city gate, and entered Green Water Bay town. After arriving at Lushwiven town, Chen Ronghuo looked around. I saw the buildings in the town, row upon row, neatly arranged. The ground is also paved with blue bricks, which is completely different from the earthen houses in Xiahe village. At the same time, the buildings here are similar to those in ancient times on Earth. The tallest buildings are only a few two-story buildings, and the rest are all low-rise bungalows. But even so, Huang Xiaoshan was dazzled after arriving here. He looked here for a while, then there again, with a strong sense of curiosity. Your Excellency, please follow me. Zhu Qiang led the way and walked forward. After a short time, he led several people to a two-story restaurant, introduced a few people into a box and said, Please wait here for a moment, I will help you call Commander Huang and Vice Commander He. Then I'll trouble Mr. Zhu. Chen Ronghuo said politely. No trouble, no trouble. Zhu Qiang waved her hands repeatedly, and at the same time told the restaurant owner on the side, This is the Lord's guest, you must remember to entertain him. In addition, all consumption this time will be charged to my account. The chubby restaurant owner smiled with a smile on his face, Don't worry, Mr. Zhu. After everything was explained, Zhu Qiang immediately said goodbye to Chen Ronghuo and quickly walked out of the restaurant. Master. After a while, the waiter from the restaurant brought the meal. After the waiter left, Li Haishui hesitated for a moment and seemed to want to say something. Chen Ronghuo interrupted him with a wave of his hand and used ancient books to identify all the food and ingredients. After taking the tableware, he said, Eat more and talk less. At the same time, the Lord's mansion of Green Water Bay town. Zhou Yuanhua spat out a mouthful of blood in his seclusion room, and spat the blood on a yellowed ancient talisman in front of him. This talisman looks extremely strange. It is covered with dense dark red runes. I don't know what it does.